Hari Om. Good evening. A very warm welcome to all of you. Please come. Let's offer our prayers. Seek the Almighty's blessings. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Sahana vavatu sahano bhunaktu sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. O the Divine Lord, the Almighty, the Omniscient, the Omnipresent, the Omnipotent, who also has the divine names Karanam and Karanam, to such a magnificent Lord, together with utmost humility, obeisance, Shraddha, Bhakti, Jnana, Vairagya, Prapatti, we offer our humble salutations to you, our Sastanga pranams to you, to seek your grace, your love, your mercy, your compassion, your forgiveness, your strength. O Lord, enhance the divine qualities such as Bhakti, Jnana, Vairagya, Prapatti, Mumukshutva, only and only to understand thy true self as a first-hand experience, a parokshanubhuti in this very life only. We beseech in you that at the end of our lives, we reach thy holy feet. Om Tat Sat. Today, by the grace of God and the blessings of Guru Parampara, we are on our Divine Discourse number 357. On the 11th of November 2023, Shobhan Kritnama Samvatsara, Dakshinayana, Sharad Ritu, Kartika Masa, Shukla Paksha, Bhargava Vasare, Chaturthya Tithau, Purvashada Nakshatre, Shula Yoge, Bhadrakarane. On this auspicious day of Friday and the auspicious time of the evening, we all make a firm resolve. Na ham karta, Hari Preranaya, Hari Prityartha. Whatever I see, whatever I experience, whatever I am aware of, is all happening only and only because of the presence of this Chaitanya Shakti around me and the Chaitanya Shakti in me. O Lord, I fully understand every situation, every circumstance, every incident, every occasion, every happening in my life is purely and purely commanded by you. It is only at your behest I am experiencing all the good and bad. I know that all these situations are only and only to uplift my life, to give me the right amount of dispassion in life, to give me the right amount of knowledge in life, and ensure that this jiva attains self-realization. Our humble salutations to the Guru Parampara. Om Tat Sat. Good evening, everybody. A very warm welcome to all of you once again. So, we understood the true meaning of Naham Karta, Hari Karta in our previous discourse. It's up to us. Now we have got the knowledge. Now, how much we reckon with it in our life, how much we are going to abide with that knowledge in our lives, and how much we are going to live by that in our lives. Now, this is purely in our hands, but I would still say, although we call it as in our hands, say I am not the doer. Oh Lord, if you have brought me to this extent in giving me that knowledge, then ensure that this knowledge continues in me. Who am I to do anything? I am completely ignorant of everything. It is you who gave me the knowledge. You brought a guru in front of me. You ensured that I got the knowledge. And you gave me the right understanding, the willpower to pursue. And now, after having understood, it is up to you to ensure that this jiva is completely soaked in that knowledge. See, this knowledge is the rare privilege of very few. I fully understand this. One thing what we need to always have in mind is think of the glory of Paramatma. If you want to look at a scientific angle, look at the vast universe. Look at how each and every aspect is happening in this universe. With so much of precision, so much of order. Once you get to understand, that is what we call as Paramatma, which we see all around. Each and every movement of the planet, movement of the satellites along our planet, movement of the solar system, movement of the Milky Way. Like this, there are millions and millions of Milky Ways. All are floating in the air. Imagine. What more you need to understand the greatness of the Lord? So what I'm trying to say is, don't be overwhelmed with thinking that I have got this knowledge. Now I'm done. No. Never allow your bhakti and prapatti to die down. See that it is nourishing and growing. Once it so happened that Narada Muni, he was on his Pariyatan, Narada Brahmarishi. He visits planet Earth, and in planet Earth he visits a small village in India. Now, he enters the house of a Pandit who had all this knowledge. Prasthanatraya, meaning the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the Brahma Sutras, all what we are learning, all that knowledge he had. And as Naraji came in, he was extremely delighted. He goes, he falls at his feet, and then he washes his feet, he does arati, and he offers him to drink, to eat. And then Narada Muni was very much pleased with his approach, and he asked him, do you have anything that I can do for you? Now when Naraji asked him this, that Panditji, he says, if you don't mind, you keep visiting Narayana every now and then. Next time when you please visit him, ask him, when will I get salvation? Just ask him, please, this is what I want to know from you. He says, okay, that's all. I keep going to him, so it's not a big deal. I'll do it for you. Okay. And Narada Muni went. And as he was going, he saw a cobbler. And he goes to the cobbler. Cobbler was also extremely delighted. He invites him, and the same process, washing their feet and doing arati and offering whatever he had, he could offer. He did that. And then Narada Muni asked him, do you want me to do anything for you? Do you have anything in mind? And coincidentally, the cobbler also asked him the same question. He says, this is my request. Please ask Narayana, when will I get salvation? When will I get mukti? I'm tired of this, stitching these old worn out slippers. Naraji said, okay, I'll do that for you. And then when he visits Narayana in the Vaikuntha Lokana, Narayana asks him, hey Naraji, where were you? He says, I've been to a small village and these lines, and I met these people. And what did they ask you? They asked me to check with you, when will they get moksha? So Lord Narayana tells Naraji, see, the first person, Panditji, whom you met, you tell him that the number of leaves which are there in the trees which are in his courtyard. You have a house, you have a compound wall, and then there are so many trees in the house, courtyard. So count the number of leaves which are there on the trees of each and every tree which is in the courtyard. That many lives he will take to get moksha. He was taken aback. And when will the cobbler get moksha? Tell the cobbler he will get moksha in this very life only. This was something astonishing to Naraji. He said, Narayana, what are you saying? He says, you yourself will understand. But only thing, when you go and tell them this news, and if they ask you what I was doing, so you should tell them on these lines. Then you will understand. Okay. Now, Naraji was very inquisitive to know what is this. And he again, during his Paryatan, he goes to the Panditji first. And there Panditji again was delighted to see him, and now he knows that he had put in a request and I'll get an answer. Very much surprised. He asked Naraji, and Naraji told him the answer what Narayana gave. Now the Panditji asked him, what was Narayana doing when you went to Vaikuntha Loka? So, as instructed by Narayana, he says, Narayana was trying to pass an elephant through the eye of a needle. His Panditji says, what are you talking? Even if you try to pass a thread through the needle, we need half a dozen times to do that. And you are talking of an elephant Narayana was trying to pass through the needle. There ended the conversation. So the Panditji got an answer. Of course, he was not too happy with the answer. So Naraji moved ahead. He went to the cobbler. Now, cobbler asked him, what was Narayana doing? So he says, are you not interested to listen to what he said? No, first tell me what Narayana was doing. Naraji, please tell me. I want to know what he was doing in Vaikuntha. He said, he was passing an elephant through the eye of a needle. The moment the cobbler heard this, he said, Jai Ho, Jai Ho, Jai Ho, Prabhu. He was dancing in joy. He Natha Narayana. Vasudevaya, what is your glory? What is your magnificence? So this way, what is important for us is to understand the glory of the Lord. All this knowledge is okay. Anybody can understand who has got a sound mind and intellect. But you need a pure heart to understand the glory of the Lord. So always keep enhancing that bhakti in you. So as you enhance that bhakti, then you will be, even though you're a cobbler, he didn't know anything much. He didn't know the Vedas, he didn't know the Upanishad, nothing. What he had was bhakti, that pure love for God. And what you need? One simple statement to understand the entire Vedanta, that you are not different from the Lord. For this, what and how many texts you have to study for this? That any point, when you are matured, you will get this. And Lord will ensure that you will get this. Nisargadatta Maharaj, the same thing happened in his life. A person who was making bidis in one of the largest slums, Dharavi in Mumbai. Now when he goes to his guru, and then the guru tells him that you are no different from that Lord, and what the Lord is in you. So he said, I just caught hold of this sentence, and second thing is, I lived by that sentence. Became a self-realized person. So means what? They had that great amount of bhakti in them. And when that bhakti is enhanced beyond an extent, then Lord will ensure that He gets you that knowledge. We should never ever be proud of the knowledge what we have. Always look at your bhakti. Knowledge will keep coming because He has now made a way for that knowledge to keep happening. Knowledge will keep coming. Now we also have a way to keep cleansing our mind by doing the japa and sadhana. What we only need, chitta shuddhi, chitta ekagrata, jnana. Vairagya is all coming, but we need that bhakti and prapatti. When bhakti comes in, prapatti automatically comes in. So, as I listened to all the various experiences the sadhaks have mentioned in the previous class, I could understand there has been a great amount of understanding on this subject. So I thought I must tell you all that this is fine as far as the knowledge is concerned. We are going great guns. The sadhana is concerned, we are doing very well. I can see individually when I see each one how they have started increasing their sadhana, that itself shows about their growth. But don't ever forget that this surrender and bhakti is important, without which we will be nowhere. Okay, come. Now, today we'll move on to the 10th shloka and we'll see what Lord Krishna has got to tell us over here. First we'll read the shloka. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Brahmanyadhyaya karmani Sangam Tyaktva Karoti Yaha Lipyatena Sapapena Padmapatram Ivambhasa. See, the previous class we understood. We have the senses. Senses also have the function. Like for nose, what is the function? Smell. For eyes, what is the function? Sight, seeing. So senses, function of the senses, and then of course the objects of the senses. Now, eyes cannot taste something. Eyes can only see something. It could be any object. It could see a tree, it could see a car, it could see a building, a person, whatever it is. So, in this whole plethora of incidents which are happening, now we got to know that there are Abhimana Devata. Behind every sense there is a Devata. And behind every function of the senses, there is also an Upadevata. If we have understood this, that much is not enough. Now, Brahmani Adhyaya. Who is the Devata behind the Indriyas and who is behind the Indriya Vishaya? Now, you are offering everything. Okay, first level, Brahmani Karmani Adhyaya. Now you offer whatever you know. It is not happening because of me. I may have eyes, but there is a divine power behind the eyes which is giving me the capacity to see, hear, smell, taste, feel, various sense organs. Now, this subtle knowledge, the subtle knowledge here is behind the Abhimana Devata, there is Paramatma. Paramatma is the big G, capital G, and all these Devatas are the small g. Paramatma is doing all these through the Devatas, through me, only to uplift me. This should be our attitude. This is the true meaning of Brahmani Karmani Adhyaya. Everything what we are experiencing, now if we are listening, I am not the listener. It is God who has kept in front of me. He has kept somebody to speak. God has given me the right eyes and the ears to understand. So when we just think on these lines, the whole process will become a puja. Done by whom? Through this jiva. What is this jiva? The reflected consciousness falling on the mind becomes an independent entity having its own cluster of thoughts, emotions, desires. So that is a jiva. Now currently, I was earlier in the jiva bhava. Now I know that I am a mere reflection. Next level. From the I am not the mind, I am not this body and senses. I have understood this. This is just an instrument to me. I can see the various changes in the body, the changes in the prana, the changes in the mind, the changes in the intellect. I can see all this. So that becomes an instrument to me. And I know that I am the reflected consciousness, the Chetana Shakti. Having understood that, move to the next level. I am not this reflection. I am that which is reflected here. Then you get into that state of drashta. That is the witness. This me is completely torn out. You have uprooted this me completely. So in this way, when we start doing an action, Sangam Tyaktva Karodiya, the thought that I have not done any of these actions, especially sensual pleasures, I have not done anything. It is the Brahmani Adhyaya, the Indriyas which are doing. Once when you have this kind of a knowledge, then you are completely elevated. So this can happen when a sadhak has completely surrendered to the Paramatma. Please remember this. If you want to achieve that, how do I achieve? Surrender to Paramatma. You behave like a device in his control, in the hands of God, and you say, you use me, O Lord, in the way you want to use me. You use me any way you want, and no questions asked. They say, when you buy something, the return policy, return it, no questions asked. In the same way, tell Lord, your Nija Swarupa is avyakta. Now, this jiva, this body, mind, senses, conglomerate is vyakta. You use the way you want. This way, you take away your entire I-ness and minus. Now, for example, a musician is there. Let's say he's playing a flute. He's gone to give a beautiful stage performance. Hundreds of people are there in front of him to listen to his performance. Now, if the flute, just imagine, if the flute puts a condition to the musician and says, see, you have to play only so and so ragas. I will not allow any other ragas to be played. And you should give me a break every 20 minutes. I can't play continuously. And one more third condition is, if people don't clap, you should not continue playing me. Now what will the flute player, the musician do? He will just discard the flute. On the contrary, if the flute says, use me the way you want, I completely surrender to you, then it becomes a magical performance by the flute artist. The flute is used by the player to its blessed ability. So in the same way, when we completely surrender to God, we are used by God to our best abilities. This reminds me of a story. We all have heard the poet Kalidas. Now, how this knowledge, if we just look at the same thing, how is it that can it happen? Now, here we'll get to study this story and then you will realize for yourself. Now, Kalidas was during the king of Vikramaditya in Ujjain, during his era, about 2500 years ago. And we all know that he was one of the 9 gems of in the court of King Vikramaditya, and King Vikramaditya happened to be where we who brought the glory of the golden age in India, in Bharat. It was during the Vikramaditya's time. No, let's come back to Kalidasa. Not much was known about his parents, because when he was a child of about 6 months, he was lost and discarded. A cowherd, he found him somewhere and he brought him up. So he initially didn't have any schooling of any sort. Now, he grew up as a cowherd. Now that was his childhood, boyhood, and he has attained youth. During that time, there was Bhima Shukla, who was the ruler of Kashi. And Bhima Shukla king had a daughter known as Vidyottama, who was a scholar. And as a scholar, she felt that I should marry only a scholar and none other than a scholar. And for which she said, I'll have a Shastratra debate about the scriptures, and then whomever I find appropriate, I'll marry. But on the contrary, the king was not at all in agreement with his daughter Vidyottama. He had in mind one of the scholars, according to him, one of the greatest scholars of those times, Vararuchi, who was in his kingdom. But now Vidyottama did not like that person. And every time she found a way to disregard that person. Vararuchi. Now Vararuchi, he was extremely hurt by the attitude of that arrogant princess. And he said, I must teach this lady a lesson. Although the king is proposing again and again, she's insulting me left, right in front of the king. So he said, I must take revenge on him. Now Vararuchi had his followership in the kingdom, where all the ministers and the great pandits of the kingdom were all very much gaga over him. One day it so happened that a few ministers, they were traveling, and there they saw a young man who was cutting the branch of a tree. Now, when they saw him cutting the branch, it was a very odd sight. He was sitting on the other side of the branch, which means once you cut that branch, the branch which is going to fall down, he was sitting on that side and cutting the branch. So they were surprised, and they waited to see what exactly this boy is doing. And then they saw that he was able to axe the branch properly, and he could cut it, and the branch fell down, and he also fell down. They had a hearty laugh. I said, even such kind of people also exist. That kind of a thing. They had a laugh, and once they were sitting with Vararuchi, and they mentioned about this funny incident to Vararuchi. Listening to this, Vararuchi got a fantastic idea. He said, look, friends, I must teach this Vidyottama, the princess, I must teach her a lesson. So he says, now let's all create a plot. He tells the ministers, go and get that boy, that young man. And they went and approached the young man, and that young man, that is the boy whom we are talking of, Kalidas. Idiot. You could see by what he was doing. No education and no sense, but he was good looking, handsome and good looking, very well built, robust. So they call him. They had told him, see, you will get 2 good meals during the day, and you will get good clothes to wear and all that, and some money also. So he was extremely delighted. He said, you tell me where to come, what to do, I'm ready to do all that. Now all of them, they made a plan to teach Vidyottama a lesson. They tell the king, O king, in line with what our great princess has in mind, we have a great scholar, and let her do her debate, Shastratra with him. So Vidyotama agreed, and they said there's one condition. He's doing Mauna, so he will not be able to speak. Now that was their plan, because they know he cannot speak anything sensible, so there's no point in allowing him to speak. So he said, now anyway, you please have a look, and you can take a call. So now he enters the palace. Vidyotama, at first sight, she was impressed with his looks and his elegance. Now he comes there. And what the Vararuchi had done was, he had told the ministers, you accompany him and see that he doesn't speak and try to cover up things wherever necessary. So Vidyotama, she said like this. Now, looking at that, this boy, he said this way. So meaning, now this has to be explained. So the minister said, oh, the queen said that it is one Brahman alone. But for that, our great scholar is saying, no, it is not Brahman alone. Brahman with Maya, there are two in this existence. Brahman with Maya has created this whole existence. Wow, it's not Brahman only. Now Vidyotama was quite impressed with this. And then what this fellow thought was, she said, I'll poke this in your eyes, this finger. So this fellow said, I'll poke two in your face. That was what was going on in his mind, which he later on reveals. And now the princess said this way. And then she closes her fist. This fellow got angry. He said, meaning he thought that she is going to give him a punch. So this fellow said this way. And then he closed his fist. Meaning, if you're going to give me with one hand, I'm going to give you with both the hands. Now, Maya constitutes of only 5 indriyas. That is what Vidyotama was saying. So on the other hand, this young man is saying, it is not only the 5 indriyas, but you have the 5 indriya vishayas. Without the vishayas, indriyas do nothing. Now Vidyotama was completely convinced. I said, nobody was able to, even in silence, he is speaking so much sense. And she said, now, without any delay, I want to get married right away. And then she gets married. And the same night, you could understand that after midnight, now the day is over, somehow she got to know that he is a dud. And she insulted him in such a way, saying, her head is full of mud and stones. Don't show me your face till you get rid of all this. And she threw him out of the palace. Now this boy, getting dejected, he goes on the banks of a river and he wants to commit suicide now. So while he was about to jump into the river, he saw that women were washing clothes on the edge of the river bank on those stones over there. There he saw that the stones were round stones. He says, there are some sharp stones, and wherever they are washing stones, they are round. That much sense he could understand. He said, then if I try to improve, although there may be stones in my head, but I can make them nice, smooth, and of some value in life. So that observation hit him like a thunderbolt, and then he says, I must do something about it. I must get some knowledge. For that I need a guru. Then he goes deep in the jungle, and there he finds a guru sitting below a tree. He goes and falls flat on his feet, and he says, you must teach me. I am a dud, I don't know anything. So then the guru offers him some water and fruits, and he said, you take rest now. Next day, Brahma Muhurat, he tells him, you go and have a bath in the river, and then you worship goddess Kali. He tells him a mantra. recite the mantra continuously sitting in front of Goddess Kali. Days passed, weeks passed, months passed, and then one fine day, Goddess Kali appears before him and asks him, what do you want? He says, I want to be a Pandit. She blesses him to be a great poet and Pandit. Now, incidentally, he goes to Vidyottama, and then Vidyottama accepts him, and the rest of the story goes as he becomes one of the 9 gems in Vikramaditya's dynasty. So, if you see what happened here, it is he completely surrendered himself to Goddess Kali. Whatever be the kind of pains he was experiencing during the night, during the day, he did not leave his sadhana. And that surrender was there to such an extent that Goddess Kali appeared before him and blessed him. So, here, Brahmanadhyaya karmani sangam tektva karoti yaha lipyate nasa papena padmapatra nivambasa. Meaning, Brahmani adaya karmani. So what does this mean? Actually, all the actions have been done by the devatas. This much understanding we already have. With that same approach, if we move ahead, what happens is every action, although it may be a mundane action, you will get some kind of a punya. See the greatness here. When do you get punya? When you do some good action. But here, let's say you're just eating, you're hungry and you're eating. But there, think of the devatas. Think of the Paramatma behind the devatas. Think of the Shakti. That itself becomes a big blessing. And always say, I'm not doing anything. That me has to be completely removed from our existence. Yeah, how is that possible? What is this you're saying? How can I remove that I, me from myself? The beauty is, just look at when we fall asleep. Are we aware of I or me being existing at that time? The same way. We experience this on a daily basis. 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, whatever you are sleeping, you are sleeping to glory. Snoring and sleeping. And you are not at all aware of that me, mine, and for me. No. Because in sleep there is no separatedness. Vibhakti, what we call. But the moment we get up, that I, me, mine, this is my house, this is my family, this is my children, my husband, my wife, my money, my property, everything comes back in a few seconds. If at any point of time you say the house is leaking, there are pests in your house, but the moment you go off to sleep, there is no leaking, there is no pest, nothing. You are having a merry sleep. No idea of your house also. When you are awake, you may feel that, oh, my son is not attending classes, he has not performed well, the teacher has asked me to come and meet him at the school. I have to go and meet him. All that was bothering you. You had a call in the evening, you went off to sleep, but during sleep, nothing of that sort is there. But the moment you wake up, you get that in your mind. So this me is where we have this dukkha. Because in sleep you don't have that me. That me is not there, that sun is not there, the house is not there, nothing is there. So I, me, mine, everything is completely gone. So understand that the reason for the sorrow is the sense of me. Sangam tektva. Now, there is no want of any phala, no attachment, because that me itself is not there. Now I'm trying to get rid of that. So attachment is the reason for all our worries in life. Any kind of a worry, sorrow, that does not come from a person or an object. But worry, sorrow comes because of the attachment towards the person or an object. I repeat this. Worry, sorrow does not come from a person or an object, but worry, sorrow comes because of the attachment towards a person or an object. What is the meaning of attachment? No expectations, only love. For example, if I lose money, I will be in great sorrow. But if my neighbor loses money, will I be in sorrow? No, because I have no attachment for his money. As simple as that. If my child falls down, I will be in sorrow. But if my neighbor's child falls down, I will not be in sorrow because I have no attachment for that child. Okay, after a point of time, you get close to the neighbor and their family, and as you start getting attached to the child, see how much it hurts you. But it will definitely not hurt you to the extent of what could have gone wrong to your child. So we all feel so happy in deep sleep because there is no I, me and mine. So in that state of detachment, sangam tyaktva karoti, do all actions in a state of devoid of attachment. That is what is extremely important over here. So now here what we'll do is I'll tell you two stories. Examine what is happening in this story, and this is only to make you understand, because we all are suffering only because of attachment. And how we can snap that attachment is what Lord Krishna is trying to teach us. Because unless and until, let's say you want to fly, if you are having weights on your legs, terrible weights on your legs, can you fly? You will not be able to. You need to be light and more lighter so that you can fly. So in this way, unless and until we remove all the weights from our body, we will not be able to rise upwards. Okay. So there was a small town in the north of our country, in India, a small town. There lived a man called Raj. Now Raj was known for his generosity, his immense love for his prized possession, which was a beautiful rose garden. Okay. He spent countless hours nurturing his roses, taking immense care of those roses and the plants. One summer, there was a severe drought in the village and water became extremely scarce. Now Raj's rose garden, because of the scarcity of water and the severe drought, the heat, what happened? Now it started to wither, despite his best efforts. This devastated him, for he was extremely attached to the garden, deriving his happiness. Every time he used to see that garden and feel happy. People used to come and talk about his garden. He was extremely happy. So all his happiness was solely coming from the beauty of that garden. Now, one day an old friend named Priya, she visits Raj. She noticed that he is completely in turmoil, in distress, and asks Raj, why do you let the state of your garden affect you so deeply? Your attachment to it is causing you immense suffering. See here, his attachment was towards the garden. Garden got destroyed because of drought. When everything got destroyed, this fellow is also completely ruined. He is in a state of depression. Now, not that we are talking of something new. Here, instead of garden, you can use any situation where you have seen your own people who have gone into depression. So the attachment to it is causing you immense suffering. This is what Priya says. Now Raj replied to him, he says, Priya, you don't understand. This garden was my pride and joy. It really defined who I am. Losing it feels like losing a part of myself. See the attachment. Now for that, Priya, she gently smiled and tells him, Raj, what you feel for your garden isn't a true love, it's attachment. Love is unconditional and resilient. It doesn't depend on any external circumstances. And he says, I'll explain this to you with a story. And she continues. She says, in a neighboring village, there was a couple named Amit and Meera. They were deeply in love and they shared a profound bond. One day, a devastating storm swept through the village, destroying their home and all their possessions. So they had lost everything. But Priya continued, she said, Amit and Meera's love for each other, it remained unshaken. They realized that their happiness didn't depend on the material things, but on their own love and connection. See, they've lost everything, but still they have somebody to love amongst themselves. So that love, that confidence, now together they rebuilt their lives stronger than before. So we also feel this in real life, when your spouse or your child or your friend, your sibling tell you, I am there with you. Let's face it. Don't get depressed. We have faced this. Now, what is the aspect over there? The aspect is they are reimposing confidences in us. So Raj pondered Priya's words and slowly began to understand the difference between attachment and love. He decided to change his perspective. Now see the transformation which is happening. Instead of being attached to his garden, this is carefully follow now. He chose to love it without any condition. I'm doing it out of my own love and passion. Now whether you bloom well or you wither away. So no, if the roses thrived, he would cherish them. But if they withered, he would accept it as a part of life's natural cycle. This is extremely important. Know that everything in this world is anityam, kshanikam, shunyam, meaning impermanent, momentary and void. Know this, Lord Buddha said this. If one can understand this basic nature of the creation, this world of people, objects, then why involve oneself to such an extent and get miserable every now and then? Now we should apply our Vedantic principle over here. When we know that everything is anityam, kshanikam and shunyam, so why should I get involved in this people, place, objects? Now for example, let's say you have a dog. You love it so much. And one day it dies. And you are drowned in sorrow. You must have seen how people love their dogs and how much they get into depression if the dog dies. Didn't you know the lifespan of a dog? It is anywhere between 8 years to 14 years. So average 10 to 12 years you will see that the dog is no more. Don't you know various facts and truth of life? If it necessarily need not happen to us only, for that to become a fact or a truth, we can learn from others' mistakes and incidents. Nothing is permanent here. When you know that, then why are we getting into that sense of attachment? Just love. And do whatever you can, to the extent you can. Never ever say that I did so much for this person and see what he did to me. Then that is the biggest mistake we are making in our life. If at all we are doing it to somebody, stop. Because eventually, when you get something from them, you will see that it is not to your liking, understanding or calibration. You are going to make that foolish statement, I did so much for this person and see what he did to me. ईश्वर के सिवाय कहीं भी मन लगाए तो अंत में रोना ही पड़ेगा. This is the fact of life. ईश्वर के सिवाय कहीं भी मन लगाए तो अंत में रोना ही पड़ेगा. So this way Raj attitude transformed. He just found peace in loving his garden without attachment. And in doing so, he discovered a new-found sense of contentment and resilience. Okay, so now let's take another story to understand this fact, because every second person I see is getting drowned because of attachment. In a small village, again, there was a young artist known as Madhavi. She was incredibly talented and passionate about her art. Now, Madhavi had a beloved painting that she had worked for several years on. One painting she's working for years, pouring all her heart and soul into every brush stroke. Now, in fact, it was her masterpiece and she couldn't imagine life without it. One day, a wealthy art collector named Mr. Verma, he visited the village. He had heard about her painting and he's an art collector, so he wanted to add this masterpiece to his collection. So he was captivated by Madhavi's painting and he offered to buy it at a staggering price. Now, on one side, the temptation of wealth and recognition was strong, and Madhavi was torn between the parting of her masterpiece and securing a future. This was the state. Now her wise grandmother, Ananya, she noticed her inner turmoil and sat down to talk with Madhavi. So the grandmother said, Madhavi, I see that you love your painting deeply, but it's essential to understand the difference between love and attachment. Madhavi was confused. What do you mean, Grandma? Then the Grandma Ananya explains, attachment is when you believe your happiness depends solely on possessing something or someone. Now, like in your case, is the painting. That is attachment. If you feel that only that is giving you happiness, then you are attached. Now, this is a different angle I am giving to attachment, okay? So, it is the fear of losing it that causes suffering and pain. Love, on the other hand, is appreciating and valuing without that fear. It is a deep connection that remains even when circumstances change. See, this is all contrary to our understanding. So Madhavi pondered over this and asked, but Grandma, if I sell my painting, won't I lose a part of my beloved self? Grandma smiled and said, not at all, Madhavi. Your painting is an expression of your talent and possession, but it's not your identity. You can create many more beautiful paintings like this. Because now, know that you have that art in you. But then the grandma says, I'll tell you another story. A friend of mine, Isha, was there. Ananya continued. Isha was a gifted musician who played the sitar. She had a cherished sitar which she had played at many occasions in various musical nights. So one day the sitar was stolen and she was devastated. But Isha understood that her love for music wasn't tied to that particular sitar. She bought a new one and continued to make beautiful music. So Madhavi slowly began to grasp the difference between the love and attachment. She realized that her attachment to her painting was causing her inner turmoil. Ultimately, she decided to sell her masterpiece to Mr. Verma, using the wealth to pursue her art and her great passion. So you could understand here. So now in all this, what you see is not to get confined with whatever we have as, you call it as love, but it is when that person or an object is not there. If you are disturbed, that means it was attachment and it is not love. And what would be the right place to invest our love or our time, energy is in the Lord. Because He is the one who is infinite, who is Ananta. There is nothing as Ashashvata, Kshanikam, Shunyam in Him. So, our right investment would be on the Lord. Rest in the world. Do with whatever you have, with all your love, but don't expect anything. So, finally, the conclusion we can draw is, if at all you're doing something with expectation, that amounts to attachment, and attachment will eventually bring you misery in life. So whatever you are doing, do it without any expectation. To the best extent you can. If you feel you are doing too much, reduce it. But most of the time, invest it on the Lord. So in this way, give up attachment. So now what they say is, think that we are all actors on the stage. When you are watching a drama, things don't happen the way you want. The actors will not act with that feeling of I, me, mine. They just follow the director's orders. They immerse themselves in the act and give their best performance. So, know that in real life too, we should have that clarity that there is some director, that Paramatma, and everything will happen as per his orders. We have to just execute it. Actually, the Devatas are executing. If you go to see in the true sense, even we are not executing anything in our whole life. But out of ignorance, we say, I am doing, I am taking, I am talking, I am listening, I am eating, I am boating, I am running. So know that this life is a drama and there is a director. This is Tattvavita. Then even if there is a disaster, you will enjoy it. If even someone insults you, you will appreciate the other person's acting and efficiency, the way that person insulted you with so much of liveliness and natural touch. So in such a situation, when everything is done as per God wish, where there is sin, lipyatena sa papena padmapatra mivambasa. Just like a lotus leaf, it's on water, but water cannot wet it. So appreciate that unwanted stuff in me is so very well cleared out of the system by that Paramatma. Say I'm unattached. Like the lotus leaf is on water, as the water cannot wet it. But if it is taken out of water, the leaf will dry. So this way, draw water but don't get wet. Draw the world of objects but don't get attached. Be in the world but no attachment. This is what Lord Krishna is trying to make it precise in our life. He's saying, you must get this. Do everything in a state where ESHWARA bhavana. Now ESHWARA is, not that I am an ardent devotee or follower of ESHWARA. We know that there is only one God. ESHWARA here is used even in by Lord Krishna in the 18th shloka, in the 18th chapter. What he says is, ESHWARA sarva bhutanam hriddesho arjuna tishtati. He says, the Supreme Lord dwells in the hearts of all living beings. ESHWARA means the Supreme Lord. O Arjuna, according to their karmas, he directs the wanderings of the souls, meaning the jivas, being seated on a machine which is made of material energy. So he says here, ESHWARA, he talks about the root word, the dhatu, what we call Ish. Ish means one who is the karta, the karanam, the karma, the kriya, meaning what? It is all he and he alone. Once you get this strong understanding that there is nothing else other than him, then there is no burden in one's life. As far as we have in our mind me and mine, we are always fearful, stressed and anxious. The moment we go into deep sleep, as we know, there is no mind, no worry. So having offered all our karmas to the Paramatma, one can be in that state of ecstasy with no worries, no tensions, no kartrutva, no bhoktrutva, a happy state, a blissful state. That Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and understanding that he is the doer of all the actions through the Devatas and the Devatas through the mind, the senses and the body. Lipyatena papena. Nasa papena, meaning you are free from all the sins. There is no karma phala, karma bandhana. because he is not there. There is only Ishvara. And here the beautiful example given here is that lotus leaf. Asangatvam, being in that water all the time, but you lift it, not a drop of water is stuck to that leaf. In the same way, Lord Krishna says, be in this world, in this state of asangatvam. Not just saying Krishna Arpanamastu, it is all God and God alone. No, mean it. Now that we have that knowledge, feel the devatas behind your senses, how they are operating. And what are you doing? You are a witness. How did you become a witness? This Chaitanya Shakti shining on my mind, brightened my mind and enlivened all the body and the senses. And I am having with that feeling of awareness, I am experiencing everything in this world. And eventually you shift. I am not only the reflection here, I am that which is being reflected. That becomes Aham Brahmasmi. One stage earlier, Tattvamasi. Slowly evaluate yourself and go to that state. Action and intention is important. We do everything as work and service to the God, not for validation or any kind of recognition. But I am just a witness. This is what has to be there in our life. Then you will be completely on a different plane where there are no sins happening, there are no worries, no anxieties, no tensions, no botherations, a complete state of surrender, a state of bliss, what you experience in your sleep state, a deep sleep state. There is no I, there is no me. Outside, when you are transacting, everything may appear to the person. You are looking a very normal person, like as anybody would be seen in this world. But what is important is not the outside. What is inside you? What is inside your mind? You are acting like a common householder, as a common person, but within yourself have this Naham Karta, Hari Karta, Hari Prerana, Hari Prityartha. Have this knowledge of the devatas working behind your senses. So once you go with this attitude, with the Samarpana Bhava of the Jiva, then slowly the Jiva Bhava will melt and the Paramatma Tattva, meaning the Tattva with the Bhava, will increase beyond an extent. Krishna Paramastu Idam Brahma. We have a recording of Mrs. Manisha Chopra. I would like to play that. It's for about 3.5 minutes. Let's get to understand her views.
Battery 100%. Connected to iPhone.
You for tirelessly taking us through this spiritual journey for almost 3.5 years. Hari Om Guruji. My deep gratitude to you for tirelessly taking us through this spiritual journey for almost 3.5 years. I've realized that merely listening and collecting knowledge is not enough. One has to imbibe it, internalize it, and put it into practice. The part of teaching which you have stressed upon. As often mentioned by you, Naham Karta, Hari Karta, a surrender is needed, and I'm trying to keep this in mind constantly. More so after an incident in Carmel, in USA, where I had pulled my back muscle after getting up from a restaurant. With great difficulty, I managed to get out, but got stuck in the middle of the road. A kind Samaritan brought a chair. Divine help I felt it was. And there I was sitting, where luckily no traffic was allowed. I prayed to Lord Vishnu, Lord Bhagwan, who sent a young boy, aged between 22 and 25, to my aid. Seeing my plight, he came up to me and asked if he could be of assistance, as he was a physiotherapist. I couldn't believe it. He gave me some simple exercises and, amazingly, lying on the sidewalk, demonstrated some of them for my back. I couldn't believe what was happening. With his help, I could walk to the car along with my daughter and son-in-law. Realization came at that stage that the divine has his plans. Not a leaf moves without his plans or without his will. And the supreme consciousness in the boy, the divine, had eased my pain. With this incident, I tried to keep in mind that the part of the divine is in everyone, and one should avoid getting angry or upset with others as an outcome of our ego. The talks have made me aware of the I, me, mine factor too, and to take everything as his blessings, divine blessings. And this also helped me in developing an attitude of gratitude to the universe and the divine. A prayer we do in the yoga which you lead every day. This attitude of gratitude which makes one aware of divinity in everything and everyone sows a judgmental attitude. Further, I have been trying to reach a state where one can be a witness to the actions and distance oneself from body and mind. This needs constant reminder and practice, and is not easy. But efforts are there, and I hope to reach the goal one day. As a poet had said, hope springs eternal in the human breast. Man never is, but always to be blessed. Thank you.
Thank you for your views, Mrs. Manisha. And now, we study to Divyanama, verse number 41. 378 and 379. Udbhavakshobano deva Shri Garbha Parameshwaraha Karanam Karanam Karta Vikarta Gahano Guhaha. Karanam 378. The instrument. That which is most useful in fulfilling any piece of work is called the tool or the instrument. The grammarians, which we call as Vaiyakaranas, they define it as sadhana tamam karanam. Now, for the creation of the world, he is the instrumental cause, which is known as nimitta karana. So here we spoke about the instrument. Now 379 is karanam, means the cause. So by the earlier term, it was indicated that he is the instrumental cause, which is the nimitta karana for the whole universe. Here now by this term, it is indicated that he is also the material cause, upadana karana of the universe. Since the term directly means only the cause, it can mean not only the material cause, but also it can suggest the instrumental cause. In the former case, it would mean he from whom the whole universe arises. And in the later sense, the term is interpreted by some commentators as he who causes the universe to emerge out. I'll explain this with a metaphor. You want to make a pot. So for that pot, you need clay or mud. And just that mud is not enough. It will not become a pot. You need a potter as well. So the nimitta karana is the mud. And the potter is the upadana karana. So one who has got that knowledge of turning the mud into a pot, a beautiful pot, by giving it the right shape and doing the right things for it to bake it and give it that temper. So all that is done by the potter. So nimitta karana and the upadana karana, here it denotes that Lord himself is everything. The one who created that which was created. So Purnamada Purnamidam exactly fits into this Karanam and Karanam. Now let's chant the Dhanvantari mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutakalashahastaya Sarvabhaya Vinashaya Sarvaroga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidhaye Shri Mahavishnu Swarupa Shri Dhanvantari Swarupa Shri 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 Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutakalashahastaya Sarvabhaya Vinashaya Sarvaroga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidhaye Shri Mahavishnu Shri Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutakalashahastaya Sarvabhaya Vinashaya Sarvaroga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidhaye Shri Mahavishnu Swarupa Shri Dhanvantari Swarupa Shri 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 Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. With obeisance, we pray to Lord Dhanvantari, the God of health, to give us the adequate health till we realize in this life. Om Tat Sat. Now let's do the Sakshi Bhava meditation. Sakshatkara Siddhi Yoga Dhyana. For 1 or 2 minutes, let's do the pranayam. 1:4:2 basis. 1 inhale, 4 hold, 2 exhale, and then again 1 inhale, and continue on those lines. Head, neck, and spine in a straight line. Your mind is already calm and serene with the divine thoughts for the last 1.25 hours, almost 1.5 hours, you can say. A beautiful state of mind to practice Drashta Bhava. Let's now do the pranayam. Focus on your mind. Observe the thoughts in your mind. Without being judgmental, observe your mind. As you stop being judgmental, you'll notice a drastic reduction in the number of thoughts crossing your mind. Slowly focus on your breath. Shwasa Vikshana. Become aware of where you are seated. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Chinmaya Satgurave Namaha. Rub your palm, place them on your eyes, gently and lovingly. Open your eyes. Together, we offer today's Gita Jnana Yajna at the lotus feet of the Lord to seek His grace, mercy, and blessings. Naham karta, Hari Hari Preranaya, Hari Prityartam. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Idam Namama. Om Tat Sat.